So 85 years ago, a small company by the name of Marvel was born. 35 years later, they gave birth to a small-town character by the name of James Loganuous Howlett, better known as Logan, aka Wolverine. And 50 years after that, an up-and-coming studio by the name of Hasbro gave us the best 1/12 scale version of the Weapon X project, but in the wrong costume. Roll it. What's going on, folks? Kinda Collecting here. Welcome back to the channel. Now, if this is your first video, again, welcome. And if you've been here before, you know the drill, so what up, oos? Hey, look, we're on the road to 2K subs, so don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Or both. If not for me, at least do it for Loganuous. Now, my ties to Wolverine stem from two places: X-Men the Animated Series and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So my definitive Wolverine costume is his tiger stripe design. But that's not to say that the astonishing threads aren't iconic. They're not, but it's still a decent design. And if you rock with Astonishing X-Men the comic, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, or even Wolverine and the X-Men, then this is your time to shine. To me, costume aside, this is Hasbro's best articulated Wolverine figure to date. The sculpt is phenomenal, his faces are super impressive, and he has just as many accessories as the Mafex Tiger Stripe Wolverine. But enough yappity yapping, let's take a closer look. Now, from head to toe, the details on Wolverine stand out. From his shorter than normal pointy ears to his very bright yellow and blue costume, the sculpting and paintwork on the belts are good, the buckles on the boots and gloves are well sculpted, and most importantly, he's got those sturdier plastic claws that don't warp nearly as easily as something like the animated series claws do. Hasbro even went the extra mile to add the seam lines within Logan's costume design, and that extra attention to detail is super dope. This figure is so clean. Mostly. There's a minor paint imperfection on the chest with mine, and please beware of paint rub, especially around that thigh area. And that typically comes with the territory when you're dealing with such a drastic contrast in paints. But it's nothing that takes away too much from the rest of the amazing design work. So for details, Wolverine gets a 4.5 out of 5. In the beginning of this review, I jokingly said that this Wolverine comes with more accessories than its Mafex counterpart. Well, newsflash, I wasn't really joking. For accessories, Logan comes with 2 regular Mink Minks, 2 clawed Mink Minks, 1 right-handed open hand, and 1 left-handed pointing hand. Now, it would have been really cool if they had matching sets for the alternative hands, but the inclusion of these hands are a welcome and unexpected addition nonetheless. And it's not something you typically get with a Wolverine figure, so I like it. Lastly, let's talk about these beautiful head sculpts. Wolverine's head game goes crazy. His unmasked head is how we in the industry like to call great. The expression, the wrinkling in his face, the sculpting of the hair, this might be the best unmasked Logan. Okay, alright. Haha, haha, haha. But for real this time. And if you're only gonna give us one masked head, I'll take this gritted teeth sculpt every time. Now, a lot of people love the X-Men 97 Wolverine figure, but the one downside for me is that his mask head has zero expression to it. And this Astonishing Wolverine head is so much better. Man, I'll be honest with y'all, Wolverine doesn't need a million accessories to feel complete. Yes, lasting effects are always welcome and extra hands are always a plus, but when you're dealing with a figure in this price range, what's here is good enough. And from now on, any Wolverine that doesn't have some type of angry expression, especially with his mask on, I'm taking off a full point. With that being said, the accessories get a 4.5 out of 5. Now, I keep bragging about the articulation on this guy, so now is the moment of truth. Now, I'm not the articulation guy, and POAs mean absolutely nothing if the Berserker can't barrage, and a quick heads up, Hasbro did it again. Just like the 85th anniversary Venom, the movement in this Wolverine's neck is very limited out of the box. So I grabbed my Dremel and got to work. So now his head can move forward, do a full 360, and tilt both left, right, and back. Now, because Wolverine is such a short character, the fact that Hasbro didn't have this neck already sculpted out blows my mind. Especially since they have figures that already have that neck cut. so why not put it on this one? Moving down a little bit, and his arms can hit a strong T-pose, full rotation at the shoulder, beefy double jointed elbows, and swivel and tilt at the wrists. Now, the shoulder pads are on some type of magical wheel so they can get out of the way whenever you pose them up, and again, I don't know how they did it, but it works. He's got butterfly joints that allow him to go back that much and forward that amount until his guns get in the way. His torso swivel can probably get a full 360, but I'm not willing to test it, and there's a slight tilt both left and right. And that inverted ab crunch goes forward and... Now I feel like the torso tilt could have been a little bit better. The motion is decent, but it's nothing spectacular. But I guess it's better to have a little bit than have nothing at all. Checking out the leg articulation, hey! Legs kick up about that high, nothing backwards, thigh swivel, double jointed knees, hinge and swivel at the foot. And the only piece of articulation missing is a boot swivel. And at this point, the Legends articulation scheme is like a box of chocolates because you never know what you're going to get. But even with that missing point of articulation, this is still the most articulated Wolverine that Hasbro's ever made. So the articulation gets a 4 out of 5. Now, let's put that articulation to the test. Alright, let's get this out the way. I have no other Astonishing X-Men figures to compare Wolverine to. Semicolon, however, comma, I do have a bunch of his Marvel vs. Capcom 3 roster mates. So without further ado, let's do some size comparisons. But first, let's see how he matches up with a couple other Wolverine figures. Here he is next to the Marvel Legends animated series VHS Wolverine, the Legends Uncanny Wolverine, and the Mafex Tiger Stripe Wolverine. I'm saving that space to the right for CT Toys. Now I'd prefer if Astonishing Wolverine was closer to the height of the other Legends. He's still a good height, but when you compare him to his counterparts, he's just a smidge taller than I'd expect. And I couldn't do a Wolverine comparison if I didn't throw some of his enemies in the mix. So here's Wolverine next to the Legends Omega Red and Sabretooth. Now when you compare it to some bigger bodies, the scaling is phenomenal. Now we're in the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 territory. And here's Logan next to a couple of his friends both in and outside of the game. On the left is a Diamond Select Hulk, and on the right is the Marvel Legends Deadpool. Next up, we have the Rebel Tech Iron Man and Amazing Yamaguchi Thor. And Wolverine's one of the only characters that makes that Thor look big, which is cool. And whenever or whoever makes the next Thor, hopefully it's Legends, I need him to have the metal arms. Please and thank you. Next is the Rebel Tech Bow-Legged Magneto and the Marvel Legends Dr. Doom. Now I love the scale between these three, but I love the colors between them even more. And I really wish Amazing Yamaguchi would stop messing around and just make a 2.0 version of Magneto and Wolverine already. It's been long enough. And since any other Capcom characters are virtually non-existent, here's Wolverine next to the Jada Toys Ryu and Chun-Li. And again, his height is not terrible. I just wish that Wolverine was a little closer to Chun-Li's height rather than Ryu's. Now, scaling a lot of the times is just a personal preference, and for me, this Wolverine is just a smidge too tall. Of course, none of that will matter when he's in brawler mode, but at least for these straight up and down comparisons, he gets a 4.5 out of 5. So all in all, my biggest complaint about this Wolverine is just that it's not the Wolverine I grew up with. Other than that, this dude is phenomenal. From the sculpt to the articulation and to the build, this is what Marvel Legends should always try to be. He's currently available on Big Bad Toy Store at only $25.99, and at that price, it's a no-brainer. It's a 5 out of 5 for price, which will put the overall score at a 4.5 out of 5. And yes, he's that good. There's a few minor issues here and there, but nothing astonishingly bad. Now, if you're not a fan of Wolverine, Astonishing X-Men, or Marvel vs. Capcom 3, then I appreciate you for sticking around this long. But if you are a fan of any of those three, pick this guy up immediately. Now, I don't have an affiliate link yet, but the link will be in the description below. Anyway, man, that does it for this review. In the comment section, let me know which character you'd like to see Marvel Legends update with their improved articulation scheme. I'm still waiting for an updated Captain America and Thor with metal arms. Sound off down below, and until next time, don't forget to protect your peace, stay young at heart, and remember, we're all kind of collecting something. Peace.